The late summer air in Seoul was thick with the smell of roasted chestnuts and sizzling street food. Neon lights flickered above as Bella dragged her suitcase down the narrow street, her GPS spinning endlessly. "This is it?" she muttered, stopping in front of a modest apartment building. The sign above the door matched the one on her lease agreement. Relief flooded through her. After a 14-hour flight and a confusing bus ride, she finally made it. The landlord, an older woman with a kind smile, handed her the keys. "Room 302, she said warmly. Bella bowed slightly, remembering her Korean manners, then hurried upstairs. The door creaked open to reveal a clean, cozy apartment. One bedroom, a small kitchen, and a tidy living room. She grinned. Perfect. But her smile vanished when she noticed something odd. A pair of neatly arranged men's shoes by the door. A leather jacket draped across the couch. A laptop charging on the table. Bella froze. This is not in the photos. Before she could make sense of it, the front door opened behind her. A tall Korean man stepped in, removing his tie as though he lived there. His sharp suit, polished shoes, and stern expression made him look straight out of a K-drama. He stopped mid-step, his eyes narrowing at the stranger in his living room. "Who are you?" he asked in Korean, then quickly switched to English. "Why are you in my apartment?" Bella gripped the handle of her suitcase defensively. "Your apartment? Excuse me, this is my apartment. Room 302. Lease signed. Rent paid." She waved the papers in his direction like a sword. The man frowned, setting his briefcase down with measured calm. "There must be a mistake. I've lived here for 2 years. This is my home." Bella's heart sank. "What? No, no, no!" She pulled out her phone, scrolling frantically through emails. "See? Lease agreement. Room 302. Move in today." He stepped closer, scanning her screen with a frustrated sigh. "I'm Miho," he said, his tone clipped but polite. "And it looks like we've been assigned the same apartment." Bella's jaw dropped. "So you're telling me I just flew halfway across the world, dragged 3 suitcases through the subway, and now I don't even have a place to stay? No, not happening." Miho pinched the bridge of his nose, clearly exhausted from his long workday. "Look, I'll call the landlord tomorrow. Tonight. Maybe you should find a hotel." Bella's eyes widened. "Excuse me? Do I look like I have hotel money right now? I'm a broke exchange student, not a K-pop star." Miho looked like he wanted to argue, but instead, he rubbed the back of his neck. "Fine, you can stay here. 1 night, couch only. Tomorrow this will be fixed." Bella crossed her arms. "I don't do one-night deals. I paid for this place fair and square. I'm not leaving until someone sorts this out." The tension in the air was so thick, it could be sliced with a knife. For a long moment, they just glared at each other, the stubborn American girl and the equally stubborn Korean man. Finally, Miho exhaled sharply. "Fine, we'll share. Temporarily. But don't touch my things." Bella rolled her eyes. "Trust me, Mr. Serious Businessman. I wouldn't dream of it." As she wheeled her suitcase into the spare bedroom, she muttered under her breath, "Great. My new roommate doesn't just look like a villain from a drama. He is one." From the living room, Miho shot her a look. "I heard that." Bella flopped onto her bed and pulled out her sketchbook, staring at the blank page. This was not how she pictured her first night in Seoul. But something told her this mistake was going to change everything. The next morning, Bella woke to the sound of sizzling. For a blissful second, she thought she was back home in Atlanta and her mom was making breakfast. But when she sat up, she remembered, right? Seoul. Wrong roommate. She dragged herself into the kitchen, hair a frizzy halo around her head, and stopped in her tracks. Miho stood at the stove, sleeves rolled up, carefully flipping eggs with the precision of a surgeon. The table was already set with rice, kimchi, and soup. He looked effortlessly put together, as if he'd stepped straight out of a men's lifestyle magazine. "Good morning," he said flatly, not looking up. Bella blinked. Morning." Her stomach growled as the smell of food hit her. He finally glanced her way, eyes narrowing. You should change. No one eats in pajamas. Bella glanced down at her oversized hoodie and plaid shorts. Excuse me? These are premium pajamas. Very exclusive. Walmart clearance section. She plopped into the chair anyway. Miho sighed, placing the plate in front of her. Do not leave crumbs on the table. She picked up the spoon dramatically. Wow, you're fun at parties, huh? By day 3, the apartment felt like a war zone. Bella left her sketchbooks, colored pencils, and half-finished drawings scattered across the coffee table. Miho stacked them neatly in a pile every night, muttering about clutter. He lined up his shoes at the door with military precision. Bella kicked hers off in random directions, often landing one in the hallway. Do your shoes need to explore the whole apartment? He asked one evening, glaring at a sneaker near the bathroom. They're free spirits, she shot back. Unlike some people. The biggest fight came when Bella opened the fridge. She pulled out a neatly packed container of marinated beef and started cooking without a second thought. When Miho came home and saw the pan sizzling, his jaw tightened. You ate that? Bella, mid-bite, froze. Yeah, it was delicious. You're welcome for me not burning it. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. That was my grandmother's recipe. She made it for me before she left town. I was saving it. Bella's smile faltered. Oh. She set the chopsticks down slowly. I didn't know. For a second, guilt twisted in her chest. But then her pride flared up. Well, maybe if you labeled your food like a normal person, this wouldn't happen. Miho closed his eyes, inhaling through his nose like he was practicing deep breathing. Unbelievable. Bella stormed off to her room, slamming the door behind her. She lay on her bed, arms crossed, heart pounding. Why does he make me so mad? And why do I feel bad at the same time? Later that night, the apartment went dark with a sudden power outage. Bella cursed under her breath, fumbling for her phone flashlight. She stepped into the living room and nearly bumped into Miho, who was holding a candle. Don't scream, he said dryly. I wasn't gonna scream, she muttered, even though her heart had leapt into her throat. They sat at the table, the soft candlelight flickering between them. The silence stretched, heavy but not uncomfortable. Finally, Bella sighed. Look, I didn't mean to eat your grandma's food. I really didn't know. And for the record, your cooking? Not bad. Miho's lips twitched, almost a smile. And for the record, your drawings. They're good. You shouldn't leave them everywhere. But they're good. Bella raised an eyebrow. Was that a compliment? From Mr. Perfect. He leaned back, candlelight reflecting in his sharp eyes. Don't get used to it. For the first time since moving in, Bella didn't feel like she was living with a stranger. She felt something shift, something she couldn't name yet. But she pushed it away, mumbling, Still not labeling your food though. This time Miho actually laughed. The blackout stretched longer than either of them expected. Outside, the hum of the city dimmed to a strange, quiet hush. Inside the apartment, the only light came from the single candle flickering between them, casting shadows on the walls. Bella leaned her chin on her palm, studying Miho's face in the glow. Without the sharp suit, the tidy hair, or the scowl he usually wore, he looked softer, almost boyish. You know, she said, breaking the silence, you'd make a great villain in a drama, always brooding, always frowning, always telling the heroine to take her shoes off. Miho gave her a sideways glance. If I am the villain, then what does that make you? The chaotic best friend. Bella shot back instantly. The one who eats all the food and leaves socks on the couch. That part one believe, he muttered, but there was no bite in his tone this time. The candle flickered, and for a long moment, they just listened to the silence. No TV, no traffic, no buzzing phones. Just their breathing. Bella tapped her fingers on the table. You're really close with your family, huh? Miho hesitated. Yes, my parents expect a lot. I am the oldest son. There are responsibilities. Bella tilted her head. Responsibilities like what? His jaw tightened, as if the words weighed too much. I'm supposed to succeed, make the right choices, never cause shame. Bella's chest ached a little at the way he said it, heavy, like chains. That sounds exhausting. Miho didn't reply, but his eyes flickered toward her, as if surprised by her sympathy. She shifted in her seat, her voice softening. Back home, everyone expects me to be strong, independent, the one who can handle everything. But sometimes, she trailed off, fiddling with the corner of her sketchbook. Sometimes I feel invisible, like no one sees how hard it really is. Miho studied her face. For once, there was no sarcasm in her voice, no teasing grin, just honesty. You're not invisible, he said quietly. Bella blinked, caught off guard by his sincerity. For a heartbeat too long, their eyes held, his steady and calm, hers wide and searching. The air between them shifted, warmer than before. Then the lights suddenly flickered back on. Bella leaned back quickly, laughing awkwardly. Well, crisis averted. Look at that. Seoul Electric saves the day. Miho stood, blowing out the candle, his expression unreadable. You should sleep. It's late. Bella lingered a moment, watching him retreat to his room. She hugged her sketchbook to her chest, her heart beating faster than she wanted to admit. What was that? She thought. He's still bossy, still annoying. But for a second, it felt like he actually saw me. As she crawled into bed, she whispered to herself, this is dangerous. And for the first time, she wasn't sure if she was talking about the blackout or Miho. By the end of the week, Bella was finally adjusting to her new rhythm in Seoul. Morning subway rides to campus, afternoons sketching at cafes, evenings in the apartment with Miho. Adjusting, however, didn't mean peaceful. She still left pencils on the couch. He still lectured her about recycling rules. They still bickered daily over the air conditioner setting. But somehow, between the arguments, there were quiet moments, like when he left her an extra boiled egg at breakfast, or when she brought him coffee during his late-night work sessions. Small gestures neither of them mentioned aloud. It was during one of those quiet evenings that trouble arrived, in the form of their neighbor, Mrs. Park. Mrs. Park was notorious for knowing everyone's business. She was in her 60s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. The moment she spotted Bella carrying groceries up the stairs, she cornered her like a hawk. You live with that young man, don't you? She asked in Korean, pointing toward Miho's door. Bella hesitated, clutching her grocery bag. Well, technically, yes, but it's not what it looks like. Mrs. Park gasped dramatically, her hand flying to her chest. Living together? Unmarried? Bella flushed. It's just temporary. A housing mix-up. Totally innocent. But the older woman was already shaking her head, muttering about modern youth and scandal. By the next morning, the entire building seemed to know. When Miho returned from work that evening, Bella was waiting, arms crossed. You, she said, blocking the doorway. He raised an eyebrow. Me? Our neighbor thinks we're living in sin, Miho. Sin. Do you know how many side eyes I got in the lobby today? Miho loosened his tie, unimpressed. Ignore them. I can't ignore them. One woman actually winked at me like I was some secret mistress. For the first time all week, Miho's composure cracked. He stifled a laugh, covering his mouth with his hand. Bella narrowed her eyes. Are you laughing? This is not funny. He shook his head, still chuckling. You're overreacting. Overreacting? Your neighbor basically called me a homewrecker without the wreck. As if summoned, Mrs. Park knocked at their door the very next day, eyes gleaming with curiosity. Miho, she said sweetly. Who is this young lady staying with you? Your girlfriend. Miho froze. Bella opened her mouth to explain, but Mrs. Park leaned forward, clearly ready to drag the answer out of them. In that split second, Miho made a decision. He slipped an arm casually around Bella's shoulders. Yes, he said smoothly. She's my girlfriend. Bella's eyes nearly popped out of her head. Excuse me? She hissed under her breath, elbowing him in the ribs. But Miho kept his smile polite, his grip steady. We're very happy, he added, bowing slightly. Mrs. Park clapped her hands together, delighted. Ah, young love. I knew it. She waddled off, muttering about how handsome they looked together. The door shut. Silence fell. Then Bella whirled on him. Girlfriend? Did you seriously? You wanted her off your back, Miho said calmly, releasing her shoulder. Now she won't bother you. Bella gaped at him. Oh, so your grand solution was to make me your fake girlfriend? Great, just great. But her cheeks burned hotter than she wanted to admit. And when Miho walked past her into the kitchen, she caught the faintest curve of a smile tugging at his lips. That night, Bella lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Fake girlfriend. Pretend. Just for convenience. That's all it was. So why did her heart keep replaying the way his arm felt around her shoulders? As if it belonged there? Bella was sprawled on the couch, her sketchbook balanced on her knees, pencils scattered like fallen soldiers around her. She bit her lip in concentration, shading the curve of a jawline she knew by heart now. She didn't notice Miho come home until his voice cut through the silence. You're drawing me. Bella nearly dropped the sketchbook. What? No, this could be anyone. Miho walked closer, his tie loosened, his eyes glinting with quiet amusement. He picked up the sketchbook before she could snatch it away. The drawing was unmistakably him. The sharp lines of his face, the way his brows furrowed in thought, the quiet intensity in his eyes. Bella had captured him perfectly. Miho's lips curved, almost imperceptibly. So, you spend your free time staring at me? Bella's cheeks burned. Don't flatter yourself. You just have an annoyingly drawable face. He handed the book back without teasing further, but as he walked to his room, Bella swore she saw the faintest smile lingering on his lips. Later that night, Bella couldn't sleep. The apartment was too quiet, the city lights glowing faintly through the curtains. She wandered toward the living room for water, only to stop in her tracks. Miho was sitting on the floor, a guitar resting in his lap. His fingers moved carefully over the strings, coaxing out a melody soft and haunting. His face, usually so stern, was completely relaxed. Eyes closed, lips parted as though the music was breathing for him. Bella's chest tightened. She had never seen him like this. You play? She whispered. Miho's eyes flew open. He looked caught, vulnerable in a way she hadn't thought possible. It's nothing, he muttered, setting the guitar aside. No way. That was beautiful, Bella said, stepping closer. Why do you hide it? He looked down at his hands. My family thinks it's childish, a waste of time. Music won't pay bills, so I keep it private. Bella sat across from him, folding her legs under her. That's not childish. That's you. And it's the first time I've seen you look free. Her words lingered in the air. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Miho reached for the guitar again. He hesitated, then pushed it toward her. Try. Bella laughed. Me? I can't play. Then I'll teach you. His voice was quiet, but steady. He slid closer, placing the guitar in her lap. His hands covered hers, guiding her fingers to the strings. The warmth of his touch, the closeness of his body. Bella's heart raced. Like this? He murmured, leaning in just enough that she could feel his breath on her cheek. The notes came out clumsy, but Bella barely heard them. All she could think about was how dangerously close they were. When she finally looked up, his eyes were already on hers. For a second, the world shrank to just that, him, and the music hanging between them. But Miho pulled back first, clearing his throat. Enough for tonight. Bella exhaled, trying to steady her pulse. Yeah, sure. Enough. As she crawled into bed later, she whispered into the darkness. We're supposed to be roommates. Just roommates. But her heart wasn't listening. The golden glow of Seoul's neon lights spilled through the apartment window, but Bella didn't notice. She sat curled on the couch, a blanket wrapped tightly around her shoulders, scrolling through photos on her phone. Her mom's smile, her best friends laughing at a barbecue, the streets of Atlanta in the summer sun. Her chest tightened. She'd been in Seoul for over a month now, And though she loved the city's energy, the unfamiliar language, the endless crowds, the pressure to fit in, it all pressed down on her tonight. When the screen blurred with tears, Bella quickly wiped her face. Get it together. You're not supposed to cry over this. But the lump in her throat refused to go away. The door clicked open, and Miho stepped in, looking as exhausted as ever. His suit jacket hung over one arm, his tie already loosened. He froze when he saw her. Bella's eyes were red, her shoulders trembling beneath the blanket. "Bella," he said softly, setting his things down. "What's wrong?" She shook her head, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "It's nothing. I'm fine." "Clearly, you're not fine." He crouched down in front of her, his eyes steady but gentler than she'd ever seen. "Tell me." Bella bit her lip. For once, sarcasm didn't come to her rescue. "I just miss home. Everyone there. Everything familiar. Here, I feel like I'm always on the outside. Like no matter how hard I try, I'll never belong." Miho's chest tightened at her words. He had seen her confidence, her energy, her laughter. It was strange to see her so small, so fragile. "You don't have to belong everywhere," he said quietly. "You just have to belong to yourself." Bella blinked at him, surprised. "That's kind of deep, Mr. Perfect." He smirked faintly. "Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation." A silence stretched, warm instead of heavy this time. Then Miho stood abruptly. "Come on." Bella frowned. "Where?" "Just get up." She followed him out into the night. The city was buzzing as always, food stalls lining the streets, laughter spilling from bars. Miho led her to a tiny stand tucked between two shops, the smell of sizzling tteokbokki and spicy fried chicken filling the air. "Eat," he said simply, handing her a steaming plate. Bella took a bite and let out a muffled groan. "Oh my God, this is so good." Miho chuckled, watching her face light up. "Better than crying alone, isn't it?" She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling now. "You're not as bad at this whole comforting thing as I thought." Later, they wandered down the Han River, the skyline glittering across the water. Bella walked ahead, her laughter floating back to him as she pointed at a group of teenagers dancing to K-pop under the bridge. Miho watched her, really watched her, the way she carried herself, the way she bounced back from tears to laughter, the way she made even the night air feel alive. For the first time, he wondered if maybe she wasn't just a burden or a complication. Maybe she was exactly what his carefully planned life needed. And when Bella turned, catching him staring, his chest tightened. "What?" she asked, half smiling. He shook his head quickly. "Nothing." But it wasn't nothing, and he knew it. It started innocently enough. Bella's classmates invited her to a karaoke night, and after some pleading, she dragged Miho along. He insisted he'd only stay for an hour, but 2 hours later, he was sitting in the corner with his tie loosened and a glass of soju in hand, watching Bella belt out an old Beyoncé song with wild energy. Her voice wasn't perfect, but her joy was contagious. She danced, laughed, pulled strangers up to join her. She was chaos wrapped in confidence, and Miho couldn't look away. When she caught him watching, she winked. He shook his head, pretending to look annoyed, but his lips betrayed him with the faintest smile. By the time they stumbled out into the night, Bella was tipsy, her cheeks glowing from laughter. Miho, steady as ever, walked beside her. "You had fun," she teased, nudging his shoulder. "Admit it." "It was tolerable," he said, but his eyes were softer than usual. They reached the apartment, and Bella fumbled with the keys, giggling. "I can't. Why is this door so complicated?" Miho took the keys gently from her hand, unlocking it in one swift motion. "Complicated? It's a door, Bella." "Well," she said, stepping inside and throwing her arms wide. "Thank you, Mr. Door Expert." Miho shook his head, amused, as he set her bag aside. But when Bella spun around, still smiling, the air between them shifted. The laughter faded. Silence stretched. She was standing close, too close. Her hair framed her face in soft curls. Her lips parted slightly as her smile lingered. Miho felt something tug inside him, pulling him toward her. Bella's heartbeat thundered in her ears. His eyes were darker in the dim light, steady and unflinching. The world seemed to hold its breath. Slowly, almost without meaning to, Miho leaned in. Bella tilted her chin up, her breath catching. Their lips hovered a breath apart, so close that she could feel the warmth of him, smell the faint trace of cologne and soju. Then Miho froze. His hand, which had almost lifted to her cheek, dropped to his side. He stepped back abruptly, his jaw tight. Bella blinked, her chest tightening. "What? This isn't a good idea," he said firmly, though his voice wasn't as steady as he wanted. Bella's throat went dry. The sting of rejection burned, but she forced a smirk. "Right? Because you're Mr. Perfect and I'm just the messy roommate who eats your food." "That's not what I meant," he said quickly, his eyes flashing with something unspoken. But instead of explaining, he turned away. Bella's laugh was sharp, masking the ache in her chest. "Don't worry about it. I'm not losing sleep over almost kisses." She disappeared into her room, slamming the door just hard enough to make her point. But when she collapsed onto her bed, the bravado faded. She pressed her fingers to her lips, whispering to herself, it was so close. On the other side of the wall, Miho sat in silence, his hands clenched into fists. "What am I doing?" he thought. "Why does she make it so hard to breathe?" Neither of them slept well that night. The next week, Bella noticed a shift in Miho. He was quieter, more distracted, his phone buzzing more than usual. He left the apartment earlier, came home later, and when he was there, he seemed to avoid her gaze. At first, she thought he was just being his usual stoic self after the almost kiss they never spoke of. But then, one evening, she opened the door to find him standing outside with a woman. She was stunning. Tall, elegant, perfectly styled from her sleek hair to her expensive heels. She carried herself with the effortless grace of someone who belonged in his world, polished, poised, untouchable. "Bella," Miho said, a little stiffly. "This is Yuri. She's an old family friend." Yuri smiled warmly and extended her hand. "So you're Bella. I've heard a lot about you." Bella shook her hand automatically, forcing a polite smile even as something sour twisted in her chest. "He talks about me?" To her, dinner that night was torture. Yuri sat gracefully at the table, laughing softly at Miho's dry humor, recalling childhood stories about their family's vacations together. She even used the word Bella hated most. "Suitable. Our parents always thought we'd make a suitable match," Yuri said casually, sipping her tea. Bella nearly choked on her rice. "Oh really?" Miho cleared his throat. "That was a long time ago." Yuri's eyes sparkled as she looked at him. "Some things don't change." Bella stabbed her food with unnecessary force. "Some things should change." Later, when Yuri finally left, Bella stormed into the kitchen, muttering under her breath. Miho followed, loosening his tie. "What's wrong with you?" "Me? Oh, nothing. Just watching your perfect family-approved future wife waltz around our apartment like she owns it." Miho frowned. "Yuri is just a friend, right?" Bella scoffed. "A friend who knows your parents want her as your bride. Totally casual. Totally not important." He set his jaw. "Why do you care?" The question hung in the air, sharp and heavy. Bella froze, her retort dying on her lips. Why did she care? Why did it burn inside her to see Yuri sitting so comfortably at his side? She looked away, her voice lower now. I just don't like people who think they're better than everyone else." But Miho caught the flicker in her eyes, the jealousy she wouldn't admit. That night, Bella lay awake, tossing and turning. She hated how Yuri's laugh echoed in her head, how perfectly she seemed to fit into Miho's life. She hated the way Miho hadn't disagreed when Yuri talked about their parents' plans. Most of all, she hated the ache in her chest. "Why do I care so much?" she thought, burying her face in the pillow. "He's just my roommate. Just my—" Her heart betrayed her with the answer she refused to say aloud. Meanwhile, Miho stood by his window, staring out at the city lights. Yuri was everything his parents wanted. Elegant, respectable, predictable. But when he thought of Bella, messy, stubborn, vibrant Bella, his chest tightened in a way he couldn't explain. And that scared him more than anything. Bella avoided Miho for days. She slipped out early, lingered at cafes after class, and tiptoed into her room the second she heard his key in the door. It wasn't just Yuri. It was the way Miho had looked at her that night, as if Yuri belonged and she didn't. The ache in Bella's chest grew heavier each day, until one evening she found herself packing her sketchbooks into a bag, shoving clothes into a suitcase. She told herself it was practical, logical. If Yuri was going to be around more, if Miho's future was already written, then she had no business being part of his present. The sound of the zipper cut through the apartment just as Miho walked in. He froze in the doorway of her room, his eyes narrowing. "What are you doing?" Bella didn't look up. "Moving out." His voice dropped. "Why?" She laughed bitterly. "Do I really need to spell it out? Your parents want you with Yuri. She's perfect, you're perfect, and I—" Her voice cracked, but she forced it steady. "I'm just the messy roommate who doesn't belong in your world." Miho stepped closer, his jaw tight. "Who told you that?" "No one had to," Bella snapped, finally meeting his gaze. "I see the way you look at her, like she's the answer to everything, like she fits." For once, Miho didn't have a sharp reply ready. His silence was answer enough. Bella's chest hollowed. She grabbed her suitcase and brushed past him. "Thanks for the free rent, Miho. It was fun while it lasted." He didn't stop her right away. He just stood frozen, listening to the click of her suitcase wheels across the floor, the sharp slam of the door. But as the silence settled, panic tore through him. The apartment, their apartment, suddenly felt unbearably empty. He ran to the window, watching her figure disappear down the street. His hands clenched against the glass. Why can't I move? Why can't I just let her go? Because he knew the answer now. It wasn't Yuri who filled his thoughts at night. It wasn't Yuri who made him laugh, who made this place feel like home, who made him want more than the life already planned for him. It was Bella. Always Bella. Meanwhile, Bella dragged her suitcase down the block, her chest tight, her throat burning. She told herself she was doing the right thing, sparing herself the humiliation of being second best. But every step away from that apartment felt wrong. She stopped at the corner, staring up at the night sky. "Don't cry," she whispered to herself. "You're stronger than this." But the tears slipped free anyway. Back at the apartment, Miho grabbed his keys, his heart pounding. For the first time in his carefully controlled life, he wasn't going to think about what was proper or expected. He was going to follow his heart. And his heart was running after Bella. Bella's suitcase rattled against the uneven pavement as she hurried down the street, her breath coming in shaky bursts. The cool night air bit against her cheeks, mixing with the sting of tears she couldn't stop. She just wanted to disappear before Miho had the chance to say something that would hurt more than his silence already had. "Bella!" Her heart skipped. She didn't turn around. His voice was too close, too dangerous. If she looked back, she might crumble. "Bella, stop!" She tightened her grip on the suitcase handle, quickening her pace. Then suddenly, warm fingers wrapped around her wrist, pulling her to a halt. Bella spun around, anger sparking through her tears. "What, Miho? What could you possibly say to make this better?" His chest was heaving, his usually perfect composure shattered. He looked at her like a man on the edge of losing everything. "You can't leave," he said, voice rough. Bella laughed bitterly. "Watch me." He stepped closer, his hand still gripping her wrist. "I don't care about Yuri. I don't care about what my parents want. I don't care about what's suitable." His voice cracked, raw and unguarded. "I care about you." Bella froze. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Miho's eyes searched hers, desperate. "You drive me insane. You take over my space, you challenge me, you make me feel things I've spent my whole life trying to avoid. And I can't." He swallowed hard. "I can't lose you, Bella." Her chest tightened painfully. "Miho, I almost kissed you that night," he admitted, his voice low, trembling. "Do you know why I stopped? Because I was scared. Scared of what it meant. But the truth is, his grip on her wrist softened, sliding down until their hands were entwined. The truth is, I've already fallen. Bella's tears spilled over. For days she told herself she didn't belong in his world, that she wasn't enough. And yet here he was, unraveling before her, choosing her despite it all. You're an idiot, she whispered, her voice shaking. A faint smile tugged at his lips. Probably. She dropped her suitcase handle and threw her arms around him, burying her face in his chest. Miho held her tightly, as though letting go wasn't an option. For the first time, neither of them pulled away. When Bella finally looked up, her cheeks wet, his eyes softened. He leaned down slowly, giving her every chance to stop him. This time she didn't. Their lips met, gentle at first, then deepening, carrying all the words they hadn't said, all the nights of tension, all the unspoken feelings. When they finally broke apart, Bella was breathless. So, roommates don't usually kiss like that. Miho smirked faintly, brushing his thumb across her cheek. Then let's not be just roommates anymore. Her heart swelled, the ache in her chest replaced by something warm and certain. Deal. The morning sun crept through the blinds, casting soft lines across the apartment walls. Bella stirred awake on the couch, the blanket she didn't remember pulling over herself tucked snugly around her shoulders. Her eyes fluttered open, and there was Miho, in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly messy, making coffee. For a moment, she just watched him. It was surreal. The same man who once scolded her for leaving crumbs on the counter was now humming softly as he poured her a cup. When he turned and caught her staring, his lips curved into the faintest smile. Good morning. Bella rubbed her eyes, her voice still groggy. You make coffee now? For me. Miho walked over and set the mug on the table in front of her. Don't get used to it. She grinned, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. Too late. They sat across from each other, sipping in silence that wasn't awkward anymore. It was heavy with the weight of what had happened last night. The confession, the kiss, the choice they couldn't take back. Finally, Bella broke it. So what happens now? Miho leaned back, his expression unreadable. Now, I make sure you don't pack your suitcase again. Bella chuckled, but her smile wavered. And your parents? Yuri? His jaw tightened. He set his cup down carefully like he needed the extra control. My parents don't get to decide who I love. Not this time. Bella's chest warmed at his words, but she also saw the flicker of tension in his eyes. She reached across the table, touching his hand. You know it's not going to be easy, right? He met her gaze, his fingers curling around hers. Nothing about you has ever been easy, Bella. And I still choose you. Her heart skipped. For once, she didn't feel like the outsider in his world. That evening, reality struck harder than either of them expected. Yuri showed up at the apartment unannounced, her perfect smile in place as she stepped inside with a bag of groceries. I thought I'd make dinner for you, Miho. Just like old times. Bella stiffened on the couch. Miho's eyes flicked from Yuri to Bella, and for the first time, he didn't hesitate. Yuri, he said firmly. Thank you, but that won't be necessary. Yuri's smile faltered. Oh, did I come at a bad time? Bella's heart raced. She half expected Miho to brush it off, to hide what they were. But instead, he stepped closer to her and rested a hand gently on the back of the couch, behind Bella. You should know, he said, his voice steady. Bella isn't just my roommate anymore. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Bella's eyes widened. He hadn't just confessed to her. He declared it, out loud, to someone who mattered in his world. Yuri's gaze hardened, though her smile remained. I see. She set the bag down slowly. Then I suppose things have changed. And with that, she left. The silence that followed was thick, Bella's pulse racing. Miho, you didn't have to. Yes, I did, he interrupted softly, his eyes locked on hers, unwavering. I told you, I'm not letting you go again. Bella felt her throat tighten, a mix of relief and fear washing over her, because this wasn't just romance anymore. This was real. And real meant they were stepping into a fight neither of them had been ready for. The invitation arrived in the form of a text from Miho's mother. Polite, short, impossible to refuse. Dinner at the family house. Bring your guest. Bella's stomach twisted when Miho showed her the message. Guest, she muttered. That's already a red flag. Miho reached for her hand, his thumb brushing reassuring circles over her skin. They'll have to accept us. I'll make sure of it. But Bella saw the tension in his jaw, the way his shoulders stiffened. He was bracing for a battle. Thank you for watching. Episode 1 ends here. Find out more about their story in episode 2 coming up soon. If you enjoyed the story, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share the video to others, and also leave your comments, thoughts, and suggestions. You can always tell us where you are watching from. We like to know you better.